Imagine this. You live in a small community in the middle of New Zealand and everyone knows everyone, and then someone does something they shouldn't be doing. So what do? Do you call the police? Do you report them? He said these tractors are driving too fast through the village.
Yeah.
They're not sticking to the limit.
They're driving way too fast, especially the young joker.
In this week's show, we're going to share with you some more life in New Zealand and let you know what life is like down under. It's a Drama, coming to you from Taranaki, New Zealand.
Hello.
Daddy, I love him!
Mother thanks you.
Right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Hello and welcome to the It's a Drama podcast. I'm Liz.
And I'm Brian.
And today we are back with you from Taranaki to share some Kiwi gossip, to go through with you everything that's been happening in the last week while we are living in New Zealand.
Yeah. And if the mountain does want to come out, it's got its first dusting of snow for the winter.
Oh, do you know what? It's autumn here in New Zealand, and it's just, we've been so lucky because the weather has just been flipping gorgeous.
It's been great.
You know, those blue days where it's just, oh, I love autumn.
Yeah, it's chilly in the morning, around about 6 or 7 degrees in the morning, then just comes up to, 18, 19 degrees in the day.
Yeah.
So it's just perfect.
And we got up this morning, the mountains just like got that sprinkling where it looks like icing sugar on it. So, it's typical.
Yeah.
We were like, let's do a podcast.
You'll have to zoom in.
Yeah. So if you are new to this channel, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We're Liz and Brian, husband and wife. We emigrated from the UK 13 years ago.
Yeah,
28 years ago, something like that.
50 years ago.
Yeah, ages
when I were a
ago.
lad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been on here forever. And what we do is we sit and talk to you about travel, about life in New Zealand. What else do we talk about? Just stuff about
little stories
life.
that go on in our life.
Yeah,
That's what it
stories.
is.
And
Yeah.
you seem to like the stories about life in New Zealand. So here we go. Let's just dive straight in. Well, we've got this local cafe that we go to down in the village down there, just down there, isn't it, Brian?
Down that way, yeah.
And
Towards the sea.
do you remember when you used to watch Neighbours and they all used to hang out at that cafe? I can't remember what the cafe was called. Kylie and Jason used to hang
those
out.
Aussie neighbours.
Yeah, it all used to go on, didn't it?
Yeah,
That's a
forgot
bit
about
like
that.
our life, you see. We
Yeah.
don't go out much, but what we do is we go down to the cafe most mornings and we sit there with our coffee and we just, earwig basically, just find out what's going on in the local community.
Yeah.
And then we come back and put it all over YouTube.
And luckily, most people down the cafe don't know that we've got a
They
YouTube
haven't
channel.
figured it out yet.
Yeah.
They just say, what do you do? And we say, oh yeah, Brian's a
Not a
plumber
lot.
and I do nothing.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, and then that's all they ever say. So,
They haven't sussed it out. I don't think any of them have watched it yet, so it's good.
and that's how we like it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the talk of the town, this town now in the week has been the speed that people are driving. This is a very serious subject, actually. I'm going to sit up straight when I tell you this. Yeah, the speed, Bri,
Yeah.
that people are driving through that little village down there.
Yeah, and
It's not on.
It's not just the cars. It's the main thing is. Yeah,
Well,
yeah, and
tell them, Bri.
Yeah, but what is it that when you get to an age that you just you become obsessed with the speed and people are just slow down, that type of thing? Do you know what I mean?
Do you know why that is? And we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Oh, are we?
Because we need to address your little problem.
My problem?
Yeah, it is your problem.
Why is it my problem?
Well, because this is what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
When you get to a certain age, you start going like this and shaking your fists at passing cars.
20.
Yeah. You start getting a little bit irate. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself.
That's more for the UK, about miles an hour.
We were down the road, down at the cafe the other morning, and we were talking to our friend. We've only got one. He knows who he is. We were talking to our friend, and he said, I tell you what, he said, the tractors that are coming along in this village,
Yeah.
he said, it's too fast. Now, you've got to see, what are you laughing at?
No, I was trying to think of the name of the company, but I won't.
Don't
I'm
tell
not.
them.
I'm not going to say the
We
name.
can't out them,
No,
can
they're a
we?
horticultural company.
Yeah.
Who basically mow all the fields around here.
For those of you who don't live in New Zealand, Taranaki is a very big farming industry, isn't it,
It's
Brian?
big dairy.
Dairy, that's it.
Dairy. Lots of grass. So it's,
And we've got lots of lovely farmers who live here and we have lots of tractors. But some of those young jokers that drive those tractors, this is
Yeah.
what the man down the road told us.
He did say he was young.
He did say he was young. We've
Yeah.
got good authority. He said he came flying through here. What's the limit? A 50, is it?
It's 50 kilometres an hour, which is around about 30 miles an hour.
That's too fast, I reckon.
Yeah.
Isn't it, Bri? It's too fast.
It's not when you're driving it because you're up there nice and high. You think you can see everything. But these things are huge, aren't they? These tractors, like the big, like John Deere or Massey Ferguson tractors, all the wheels are sort of the same size, aren't they? They're huge, and a big trailer behind because whatever it is or what machinery he's got on behind, for cutting all the silage and stuff.
But bearing in mind, down that village, there's a 4 square. It's an oasis of activity down there.
Yeah, there's at
It's
least
a hive of
there's at
activity.
least 10 people walking around, isn't there?
No, but it's like, just imagine New York, and then that's the same down there.
It's not far
there's
off
a
it.
4 square, there's a chippy, there's a pub, there's a cafe,
There's a little restaurant thing.
there's a hairdresser's.
Yeah.
It's a
chemist.
chemist,
Yeah.
And not only that,
Empty shop.
Not only that, but there's a school not so far away. So there's always kids walking up and down.
Yeah.
So I totally get what that guy means. He said these tractors are driving too fast through the village.
Yeah.
They're not sticking to the limit.
So he called the company up and said they're driving way too fast, especially the young joker who was coming through too fast. And the guy turned around to him and said,
The owner of the company.
the owner of the company said, I'm sorry, but they can't go over 50 kilometres an hour because they're governed to 50 kilometres an hour.
He said, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
He said, no.
I don't think he's supposed to say what you're talking about.
But don't say that because it makes it sound better. He said, you don't know what you're talking about, mate.
Yeah.
By the way, who you stood next to?
But it's like the guy who called him up, it was almost like crestfallen. It was like,
He was.
because it looked like they're going way too fast, but it does look those big, huge wheels, at 50k to stop that. It's not like a car, is it? Where, the modern day car can stop on a dime almost, and these things are, I think the wheels are full of water, aren't they, to stop them tipping up and everything like that, and keep them up. The dogs come down, keep them more sort of planted when they're off road. And so they haven't got that much rubber because of the way the tyres, the knobbly bits on the tyres, they just sort of bounce when they hit the brakes. So, and especially with with a big trailer on behind and everything else. So I can understand why he called him up because, little kids, they run to the island and then they they run across the road, don't they? So and they're coming through. So he's only got to twist or move.
But it was more his point of he actually said this to us. He was like, I was convinced that tractor was going at least 70. And when he was told, well, no, because they've got this speed thing that doesn't allow them to go any faster than that. So he's not breaking any laws. So why are you phoning us?
Yeah.
But he wouldn't let it drop. And he said, well, what I suggest, I suggest that you put the name of the driver. Imagine this. Imagine if you work for that company. I suggest you put the name of the driver on the back so that if I see him going along, I'm going to phone you up and I'm going to say...
Number 39 has been...
Coming number 39.
You're going way too fast, mate. Yeah, but the thing is like... This is what
talk of the town.
Yeah, but the thing is, the speed limit is a speed limit. It's not the speed that you're supposed to go.
Oh, Brian, you're always saying this. You keep saying this over and over again, but I know, but you don't adhere to that. Your own
out
advice,
on the open road,
do
you can understand, you're gonna push it to 105 or something like that, honest. Yeah. But in towns, I was the world's worst when I was young. I know, but it's like, because you're just oblivious to things, aren't you?
So we got talking anyway about this. We were like, what is it? Because, this guy's a really lovely guy.
Yeah,
but
he is.
I bet when he was 18 or 19 and just going surfing with his mates down the road here, he didn't sit there and think, I tell you what, I think I'll ring up the council and I'll ring up this company and I'm going to tell them. And me and Bri started talking about this because you're a bit prone to dobbing people in, aren't you, Bri?
No, not dobbing, no.
No, I don't.
What if I ever dob someone in?
All right, then maybe that's not the right word.
No,
but
it's not.
Okay, well, sorry, Bri. God,
He's number 39's at it again.
No, I don't mean that, but I mean you're a bit prone to,
I'll talk about it, but I don't phone people up and...
Brian, have you ever phoned the council up and said they're going too fast?
No.
Don't lie. Yes, you
I always do. I moan...
In England, you did.
Did I?
Yes.
No, yeah, but...
Didn't you?
No, not in England, but
I must have been my other husband.
No, but when we were in England, people, I don't know, the council change things, don't they? And it's like reroute roads and stuff like that. So they think it's great because it's better for, the town. So they come through the little villages then, don't they?
All right.
Can
I reword then?
What?
All right then. You're not a dobber-inner. Okay, I take that back. He's not a dobber-inner. Okay, that's sorry.
But I would stand at the side of the road and shake my fist.
That's
maybe.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're the sort of person that doesn't just get on with their day and think, life is lovely. You stood at the side of the road once when I'm going to tell people, I'm going to tell you in a minute about our dramas that we've had with traffic all over the world. All our life, this has followed us.
Do you know why that is though?
No, hang on.
Go on.
And you stood. We lived in this house, right? This 1950s house in England on a corner of a road.
It used to be a nice country lane, and it was only 30 miles an hour. That's all it was supposed to be.
And Brian used to go out there at rush hour, and don't deny this because this is true. Yeah. Don't start doing what you've just done to me before. He used to go out there at rush hour, stand on the corner of the road, and shake his fist at
No, I'd stand I'd stand there as if I was about to cross, and you could see their faces. They were like, "Oh my God, there's somebody on this road." Yes.
Why did you do that?
Because it was the speed they were coming by. Honestly, Liz, they used to come down about probably 60 miles an hour. You know,
I know,
and it was a 50. It was a 30. It was like double the speed limit because they were late for work.
But do you think, hand on heart,
made any difference?
Exactly. If you're driving along on your way to work, you see some old fella out there. In fact, you weren't even old then. You were only 30. If you see
what's that tosser doing?
No,
He needs to get off the road.
No, Bri. But would it make you think, oh, hang on a minute, he's standing there shaking his fist and looking angry. I'm going to slow down from now on. Would it?
To be honest, no. But I think because you live there where they're coming past so quick, and we had young children, and you just think, what if they ever get out? Like, you know, if the kids get out and just wander across the road, because it was all right if you were turning left because it was quite a wide entrance to the housing estate where we lived in, and we were like the first one, and we used to buy the houses on the road because they were the cheapest.
Every house we've had,
because it was always cheap.
Like, I know,
you know? And then you realise, just think, you know, you're driving along all these roads and you see these nice houses, but you forget they live on the road.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like we you know, everyone's got to live on a road somewhere, but you know, it's just that type of thing.
So we thought you might be interested in us telling you, you know, because like this is, like I say, it's plagued us wherever we've lived. The traffic has plagued us, and we seem to always attract people who get angry about traffic and about speed and stuff like that. And I know it's a big deal, and I know all that, but like I say, going back to when you were 18, like, what age is it that you start thinking, I'm going to really start getting angry about this now? I'm really going to. You know,
I think it's the older you get, the things seems to speed up.
Do you think?
I think it is, and I think you just look at it. And to a young guy, it's just like, this is nothing. I can see everything around me.
Yeah.
There's no danger in my eyes, like, you know, because your brain's working that little bit sort of quicker.
I've got this really funny story to tell you in a minute. That someone messaged us on YouTube, Kiwi guy, and told me this story. I'm going to tell you in a minute. Anyway, but before we do that, I haven't told you yet.
Oh.
Yeah. Don't look confused.
Okay.
But before we do that, it was just, we were sitting there thinking, so we lived in that house that we've just told you. We lived in that 1950s house on the corner.
Yeah.
That was just, they were coming in all directions, the traffic there, weren't they, Brian?
Yeah, because what it was they changed the road system, and they put a bypass past, I think it was Chippenham, which used to be up the road from us, like, you know, so all of a sudden it was actually quicker to come off the motorway and use the bypass and then come along the country lanes. And it was an old Roman road, and it was super straight, wasn't it, in one place? Ancient road, like, you know, 2,000 years old and stuff, but obviously been resurfaced over the years. And they used to then come down through the sleepy village, which it was, and now all of a sudden it was like now used as a main road.
Yeah,
and it was just
really
it's just crazy.
And it was horrible because we had these really posh friends. This was like when we lived in Bath and we were trying to be posh and stuff, and we didn't, you know, we'd like trying to get in with people. And we had these really posh friends, didn't we, Bri? And they were from London and they talked like that. So really, really posh. Yeah. And we invited them over for dinner.
On a Sunday afternoon.
Because we were, just invite them over on a Sunday and we'll put all the food out in the garden and, like, you know, pretend this is what we always do.
Lovely house, wasn't it? It really was.
It was gorgeous. Yeah. And we went to all this effort and we sat at the table outside in the garden, bearing in mind.
Gorgeous summer's day.
It was. Yeah. And there was only like a hedge between us and the main road. And we're sitting there and we'd laid everything out. And we were like just trying to have this conversation. And he stopped, didn't he? And he said to you, what did he say? You say it. He said,
he was just standing there. We're like, what did he say, mate? And he went, oh, mate, nothing worse than the sound of rubber on tarmac.
Yeah. And we were just crumbled. It was like, you know, when you're pretending you can't hear it and you're like shouting even louder over the traffic, like, just ignore that. Like, you know, you can't hear it. Yeah. And that's what he said. He said, there's nothing worse than the sound of rubber on tarmac.
Rubber on tarmac.
And it's just, some things that people say to you throughout your life, it sort of sticks with you, and that's always been our thing. But yeah, so we lived there one year. You know, that was one part of our life. Another time, we bought a cottage in the middle of nowhere. Get this, the absolute
on a
middle
dead
of
end
nowhere.
this time. So but it was on the road, but it was a no through road. So it's like you've only got like 10, 15 people living on the road. So bliss.
It was a beautiful old stone cottage. It was called Lilac Cottage.
Yeah.
It used to be a post office.
It was a post office. It was a brothel.
It was a brothel. It was
There was
ancient.
a
It was lovely.
a limestone quarry next to it that had filled in when they obviously drilled down too deep and hit the water, and it filled up the.
And we
quarry.
had a Citroen car that we just bought. We'd only been, we didn't have kids and we didn't have much money. We were trying to get ahead, and we had this, had our own little cafe and all the rest of it, and we'd just gone out and got a loan for this car.
Our pristine little Citroen ZX 1.9 turbo diesel.
It's
it was
like when you're just like young and everything, and your car is your thing, isn't it?
Shiny black.
Anyway, we're sitting there one night just watching telly, and we just hear this almighty crash.
You would have thought it was like an earthquake or something, because it was like but it went on sort of like for 2 or 3 seconds, this crash and this boom, like, and then this roaring engine revving up and down, wasn't it? It's like, oh dear.
We went outside, and a woman had come back from the pub drunk and just driven, not even clipped our car, just driven straight into the back of our car.
Straight into the shiny black car.
Almost through the other side. She'd gone that,
Yeah, well, she'd actually hit the car, and it had lifted it and put it on the neighbour's wall. That's how much she'd hit it,
that's right.
And she was only in a little,
She was
smaller,
fine. No one was hurt.
Yeah, a little Vauxhall Corsa, I think it was.
Yeah.
Whatever that's called. It's like it would be a Holden over here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was that, wasn't it?
Yeah, and she, all her car was caved in at the front, and ours was smashed to bits as well, because hers was a lot newer than ours. So it was a lot better crash impact protection or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the engine was still going, and she was
trying to drive away.
Trying to drive away and trying to drive home, because she literally lived four doors down. And she said she'd had a terribly hard week, but and I was saying, well, you're over the limit. I need to call the police. And then what do you do? Because it's your neighbour. You've got to live with them.
Well, did you call the police?
No, I didn't. No.
So you're not a Dobber then, are you, Brian?
No, and I should have done, really.
Yeah,
but
she should have been.
It's like her husband came sneaking out, and he was hiding in the hedge, like walked quite a bit down, because my neighbour had obviously called him, because they were in the Tufty Club together.
What does that mean?
The Tufty Club.
What's that mean?
The Funny Handshake Brigade.
What's that?
The Masons,
Oh, right. Were you ever in that, Brian?
No, I got asked to go in the Tufty Club once.
I thought they said they didn't want you in there.
No, they said they would go in there, but you'd be a good candidate, Bri, because you don't dob people in.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Again, that's a whole different topic.
Yeah.
But so did you not call the police?
No, he came up because
she should have had her license taken off.
No, she should have done, yes. And I still feel this day, because she could have killed someone. I did say to her, listen, you could have killed someone. And she said, I was only coming up from the pub, and the pub was literally just down. She could have walked home. I said, why don't
This
you
is
walk?
like going back 25, 30 years, is it?
1997 it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still bad, It's I don't
yeah.
condone drinking driving by any stretch of the imagination.
No. But that's what she did, was just drove and wrote off our car completely.
At the end of the day, you go, right, no one was hurt apart from the car was hurt. Her husband said, listen, our insurance will cover it, this, that and the other. But again, it's like you don't feel, it didn't sit right on me, like, because she could have killed someone.
Yeah.
Could have killed herself.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it,
Yeah.
So that side of it. But when you look back at it, not only that, we had all our shopping in, because we used to own a cafe, and we had all our shopping in the bag, and there was milk and all sorts, because it was such a cold night. It was like we didn't need to take it in and put it in the house, because it was like
it was winter, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was icy and everything, like, so we just had left everything in there, and I opened the door, and all the milk it was just
what, in the car?
In the car.
But what difference does that make? Because the car was written off anyway,
yeah,
so who cares?
But if it hadn't have been written off, imagine that.
Yeah, and milk's not
nightmare,
cheap, is it, Brian?
No, milk's an expensive
So we had to
thing.
go and get that as well.
Yeah.
So that was that, and then another house we lived in. We lived right on. Basically, it was built on a speed hump. So
well, the speed up was put in after obviously, because it was like
every time you're watching telly, all you'd hear is.
And this was like again, should have been a quiet road, but the taxis knew it was quicker to come down our lane, so that right through the night.
Yeah.
And then there was this one taxi that had a rattle on it that you'd always know it was that taxi that went over. And not only that, then there was a manhole in front of it that goes clunk, clunk. And it was just like, oh.
It's funny, isn't it, how you buy a house, where you can afford. And it's all, well, for us in England, it was always on a road.
On a cut through.
And this is the other thing I just wanted to say as well. And it only dawned on me this the other day when I was talking to someone about moving to New Zealand. I don't know if it's still the same. I mean, we've been gone almost 14 years now, but I'm sure it is still the same.
Yeah.
But in New Zealand, are we all right for time?
Yeah.
In New Zealand, when you buy a house, the closer you are to a town or a city, the more expensive it is. But in England, it's the other way around, isn't it, Bri?
Yeah, well, it can be
Because
if it's
to live in the
yeah.
country is expensive, isn't it?
Yeah. The thing is you can live
Funny
in
that, isn't
live
it?
in the smaller towns, which are like commuter distance, but then you think, oh, I'll live in the country, it'd be even cheaper, and it's not.
No.
Yeah, because it's
Everyone
more
wants
sought
to
after,
live.
isn't
Well,
it?
that's right,
Yeah.
because they want to be away from
Away from those bumpy roads.
Yeah, exactly, away from the
Yeah.
speed humps and the drunk drivers and stuff like
But
that.
we had that house which was on the no through road, and we thought, well, that's it.
I know,
found
we
it.
thought we'd found
Yeah.
paradise.
And at 10 o'clock at night, the quarry used to start up over in the distance, but
Oh, I know, I know.
it was that was just like
No,
all you heard
more
all night was
importantly-
beep beep of all those trucks reversing.
But more importantly, old Alkiani down there, isn't she?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
We didn't. Anyway, we didn't talk to her anymore, did we, Bri?
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure it was her years on, because we went out and we had to get another car, and I think she threw eggs on our car.
She didn't.
I think she did because we bought a little RAV4, didn't
would
we?
she do that?
And it's like, I don't know, because it wasn't our fault, was it? But we just thought, well, when we got the insurance money for the car, we just went out and thought, all right, we'll get a bigger car so she'll see it next time.
Is that because you were a bit funny with her? And you were like,
No.
because you were funny. We didn't talk, you were funny
Yeah,
with
but
her.
the thing is,
Quite right.
We just, I think it cost us something.
Hang on a minute, we're just going to have a conversation.
I think it cost us about £4,000 the car, and when the insurance said yes, we'll pay for the car, they were going to give us £3,000, and that's when I went to him and said, look, I'm £1,000 out of pocket here, and he said, that's all right.
Is this the husband?
Yeah, because we didn't involve the police and everything. I'll pay the extra.
Right. Okay.
All right. So
I'm
he
with you
probably
now.
thought, but for £1,000. So, but then we at the time we just went, right. Okay, we'll upgrade it and we'll buy a bigger and more a newer car, like
Yeah.
that.
And she
a
threw eggs
safer
on
car.
it.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
That's horrible. I don't remember that.
Yeah, because she always used to look at us funny.
Did she?
But it's
Give us
like,
a bit of the eye, did
yeah.
she?
Well, it wasn't mine. I didn't drive into your car. You drove into mine.
Do you know what? It's always the way, isn't it? You're the innocent party and you get treated as if you've done something bad.
Yeah.
And it's like, not
Yeah.
us who's done something bad.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Anyway, back to YouTube. Thank you for waiting.
Sorry about that.
Right, so that was that. And I just thought we would share that. How are we doing for time?
We're about 20 minutes in.
Yeah, okay. Let me just tell you this story and then we'll leave it at that because I feel as if we've just been...
I know, we've diversified a little bit too much, haven't we?
This was just supposed to be a podcast about, traffic and New Zealand and stuff. And we've kind of just gone off on our own little tangent. But anyway, sticking on the alcohol route, and this is just to lighten the tone a little bit. Mark Crisp, who is one of our regular commenters and watchers. Hello, Mark. He sent me this comment and he just said, I had to tell you this, Liz. This is just so Kiwi. And it just made him laugh so much. So he was riding his motorbike down south on the South Island outside Blenheim. And there was this massive long queue of traffic and everyone's driving really slow. And in New Zealand, they are, I mean, maybe this is the same all over the world, I don't know. But if you're going slow, you pull over and let people pass, don't you, Brian?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yes, I remember what you're going to say now.
I remember thinking that actually when we first got here. I was like, oh, that's so considerate. I was driving down to Gisborne and it was people will pull over.
It's supposed to be a rule, isn't it? You get more than 4 or 5, 6 cars, whatever it is. I don't know what it is, behind you, and you're going slower than the speed limit, then you should pull over and let them pass. Then you carry on and pootle along.
So Mark said he was driving and this car pulled over and everyone started passing them. And in the back of this person's car, there was a sign that said, "Toot if I'm slow, I'll pull over and have another wine." It just made me laugh.
I know. I do.
It just made me laugh.
I do love the things that people put on the cars here.
Humour is just brilliant.
Yeah, it's great. You see it a lot of campers, don't they? They'll say something on the camper, like, or whatever it is, or like you say, bumper stickers are very
Tickled
good.
me that, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you shared that. It was brilliant. So yeah. Anyway, so that's that. And oh no, I knew what I had to tell you.
Oh.
My book.
Your book. Yes.
So I forgot to tell you that, well, regular listeners and watchers of this show will know that I'm writing a book all about when me and Brian took the kids travelling around the world for a whole year on no more than 100 New Zealand dollars a day. We did it by couch surfing, by sleeping on people's floors, by eating worms, by
Just everything.
Everything very, very cheap. And I have written a book that's just about to be published all about that, and it's from my perspective basically, so there's a few things in there that
Yeah, but it's your funny perspective of what happened, your humorous way of looking at it.
Funny book.
It's great.
And the other day I'd sat down and read the entire introduction to that book, and Brian filmed it. So this is something that, you know, I've never put out before, but I'm offering people who have stayed until the end of this video now. You must really like being with us, and we really like being with you.
Yep.
And I just wanted to offer you the chance to be able to see that video. It's very rough, it's very uncut, it hasn't been polished or anything like that. It's literally me sitting somewhere in our house, which I won't reveal where. You'll have to wait and see about that, because that's quite a shocker.
Yes.
Reading you the introduction of this book. So if you would like to read that and watch that video of me reading the introduction and get onto the free newsletter and find out more about this book and when it is released, and, you know, the audio version of that book, you know, my dream is for it to become a one-woman show. I would absolutely love that. I would love that. Anyway, that's diversifying it. But if you would like to get onto that newsletter, and I will send you that video absolutely free, sign up to
www.itsadrama.com/front row.
Front row.
Yes.
As in front row seat. As in you get to see everything that's going on behind the scenes.
Yep. And
So, yeah.
just put your email address in there. Liz will get it, and then you'll get an email.
And I'll send you it.
It'll, and over the next week or so, you'll get it.
Yeah, and I've only been telling people right at the end of videos, because it's like, do you know what? You just want the people who just want to be here.
Yeah,
you
well,
know?
we try and be real with you, and you guys, the ones that are staying on to the end, you know, because sometimes people watch 5 minutes of your video and then on to something else because their
no, they
attention
never do
span.
that with us, Brian.
No,
We
never.
hold their attention
Yes, you've got to
brilliantly.
stay here. We edit ours super quick and make our heads
Our
wobble all over the
intriguing
place.
content about
Yeah.
tractors and all the rest of it. Anyway.
Well, it's New Zealand, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is. So thank you so much, everyone, for being with us. As always, we appreciate you so very, very much. And from lovely New Zealand, take care, keep smiling, keep being you, and I'll speak to you next time.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say one last thing. We had a comment from, I can't remember his name, but he said, if the All Blacks were playing England, who would you support? Well, the underdogs, obviously. So who would that be?
Oh, no, I don't know what you're getting at, Brian. Please, can we just go now, and you can edit that bit out? I'm telling you, you're editing that out.
No. Kia kaha, stay strong. Kia u, stay true. And I'll see you next time.
Bye. In Western Australia, if you're found in possession of only more than 50 kilograms of potatoes, you're put in jail. And in Scotland, if someone knocks on your door and says, "I need the loo, can I come in?" you've got to let them in. But what about New Zealand? What weird laws do we have here? I'll tell you now, if you're not from New Zealand and you haven't been to New Zealand, there is nothing sexier. No, it's true.
I said.
In this week's show, we're going to explore 8 strange laws of New Zealand and decide whether they make any sense at all.